Welcome to the Vintage Racing Group Driver Orientation Program, commonly known as the DOP. I'm Kenny Williamson, Chairman of the VRG Driver Committee. First and foremost, we're all here to have fun, and the most fun is had when we can load our cars back into the trailer in the same condition as we unloaded them. We all enjoy spirited competition, but nothing we do is worth bending a car or hurting someone. Please consider our racing as gentleman racing, and the beautiful race car is our trophy. The following video is a short description of what the basic expectations are for racing with the VRG. We are definitely one of the more conservative racing organizations, with an emphasis being placed on having fun, but in a safe manner. The reasons for watching this video are varied. You could be watching this presentation because you're a novice driver and are either attending the VRG driver school or have attended another accredited driver school and are new to VRG, or are an experienced driver from another club who is racing with VRG for the first time, or you could be a returning VRG member who is fulfilling the annual requirement for renewing your competition license. Regardless of the reason, your attention to the following information could be critical to having a fun and safe racing experience with the VRG. The purpose of the DOP is to reinforce the vintage philosophy inherent in vintage racing and to educate our racers to the VRG rules that relate to our on-track behavior. We also highlight areas where VRG rules might differ from those of clubs you may have raced with previously. Safety is our top priority. VRG demands the highest standards for on-track behavior. The desire to win must never, ever take precedence over the safety of all participants involved. Remember, there are no podiums, no trophies, no prize money, no championship points, and I can assure you there are no F1 scouts patrolling our paddock looking for new talent. Okay, so why do we need rules? Rules help provide a safe racing environment for all of our racers. We want everyone who races with the VRG to understand the rules and play by the same set of standards. Rules can also help determine who's at fault in the case of an incident. Vintage racing is different because cars on the same track may have different handling characteristics and different speed differentials. Likewise, vintage drivers have different goals and varying skill sets. Cars on the same track may be a mixture of all of these characteristics. To participate successfully in vintage racing, drivers must accept these differences and accommodate for them. Please take the time to familiarize yourself with the VRG rules as posted on the VRG website. VRG has developed a very informative Racing with the VRG and VRG Driver Infraction Guidelines information sheet that's available on the VRG website or at the DC at any VRG event. This guide sheet explains the basic expectations of racing with the VRG and gives easy-to-read infraction guidelines. This sheet helps standardize infractions and educate our racers as to what to expect from errant behavior. The goal of any sanction is always behavior modification. Remember, ignorance of the rules is never a valid excuse for wrongdoing. Overtaking, also known as passing, is the number one source of on-track problems. The primary responsibility to execute a safe, clean pass lies with the overtaking driver, but the driver being overtaken shares some of that responsibility and must be aware of what is happening around them. It is the responsibility of the driver of the overtaking car to exercise good judgment and situational awareness to determine when and where to complete a clean, safe pass. Fast guys have no extra rights. The fact that your car is being driven faster than a car ahead of you does not automatically entitle you to the corner. Do not expect anyone in front of you to move out of your way. The key is to anticipate the position of both cars at the turn-in point for any given corner. The front of the overtaking car must be at least even with or somewhat ahead of the car being overtaken at or before the turn-in point. If not, back out. By putting your car at or ahead of the car being overtaken at the turn-in point, you have essentially taken away the racing line for that corner, and your competitor must yield unless they're willing to give you racing room and take a wide line through the corner. Remember, as the overtaking driver, you are still responsible for a safe pass until you have cleared the slower car. So here's a diagram of a properly executed pass. The green car is overtaking the red car in the braking zone. The blue triangles represent the view of the driver of the red car in their mirrors behind, and the direct and peripheral vision in front. The green car has come alongside the red car at the turn-in point. This is the minimum requirement for a safe pass. From this diagram, you can see that the driver of the red car can see the green car at all times, either in their mirrors or in direct or peripheral vision. As they enter the turn, the green car remains within the vision of the driver of the red car. Some schools call this presenting your car for the pass. The importance is that the driver of the car being overtaken knows that the green car is there throughout the passing attempt. Now, compare that to a poorly executed pass, the infamous dive bomb maneuver. This is where we get into a whole heap of trouble. The green car is approaching from behind at a greater rate of speed compared to the red car. As the driver of the green car dives down into the turn, they have put themselves in a position where they are no longer visible in the mirrors or the peripheral vision of the driver of the red car. To the driver of the red car, the green car is no longer there, and they can approach the apex as they normally would. The driver of the green car mistakenly assumes that the driver of the red car knows they are there. As both cars move down to the apex, they collide and get a visit to the DC. So, what if you're driving the red car and being overtaken? Clearly, from what we just saw, well-adjusted mirrors are of vital importance. You don't need to be able to see the side of your own car in your side mirrors. You do need to be able to see into your blind spots. Have someone help you adjust the mirrors in the paddock to eliminate those blind spots. Your helper should be able to walk around your car and you know where they are at all times. If you want someone to pass, point them by. Point to the side where you want them to pass. You are saying, pass me on this side. The best place to pass is on the straights. A point by is good until the turn-in point for the next corner, when it then expires. If the cars behind you are clearly faster than you, then point them by. This is especially important for black markers in a race. Once the leader passes you, anticipate that there will be more faster cars coming up. Watch your mirrors. If you're evenly matched and the other car gets a better run off the previous corner, then let them by and pass them back before the next turn. When somebody pulls even coming up to the turn-in point, give racing room. Don't shut the door. Remember, this is vintage racing. And with the VRG, vintage racing is gentlemanly racing. If you arrive at the turn-in point first, then you have the right to the normal racing line. The overtaking car must yield. Be predictable. Follow the racing line. Your opponent has to get around you safely, as we have discussed. Never, ever, never try to get out of the way. Follow the racing line. Once again, being predictable is the most important when being passed by faster cars. Okay, let's talk about racing and traffic. Above all, be predictable. This is especially important between the start and turn one when cars are closely packed together. No sudden, low percentage moves. It goes without saying, no dive bombs. Check your well-adjusted mirrors frequently and use your peripheral vision. Have a 360-degree awareness of what is around you at all times. Okay, now let's talk about situational awareness. Situational awareness involves being aware of what is happening in your vicinity, understanding how information, events, and one's own actions will impact the events on the track around you, both immediately and in the near future. Use all your senses, seeing, hearing, and even your butt accelerometer can help build a picture of what is happening around you. Also consider the environment, Temperature, weather, track conditions. How are the temporal considerations? What's the time of day? When in the race? Early laps? Late laps? What about your skills? Your confidence? How do you feel today? Did you sleep well last night? Are you tired or anxious about something that would affect your performance? What's the condition of your car? How are your tires? What about your competitors? How well do you know them? Can you trust them? Or are they an unknown quantity that requires caution and a bit more room? All of this and more goes into the calculus of situational awareness and makes you a better, safer driver with fewer surprises. Knowing what is going on around you is paramount to safely racing your race car. Let's talk about blocking. Blocking is usually defined as a move in response to another driver's move behind you. A defensive line is allowed, but you only get one move. If you make a defensive move to the right on a right-hand turn, that's your new line. You can't move back to the left to prevent the competitor from trying to pass you on the outside. No swerving or back and forth moves. Above all, be predictable. Of course, we all want to avoid damage to our race cars, and that begins with driver attitude. If you're following a fellow competitor closely and another car in front of the both of you spins or slows for some reason, and your fellow competitor slows before the yellow flag comes out, do not take this as an opportunity to make a pass. Hold your position until out of the no passing zone, then resume racing. A yellow flag is not a chance to make up time on the car in front of you. If a car which is spinning or otherwise out of control is still moving, beware. Once the tires regain traction, that car can take off in any direction. A driver that causes an accident because his car is out of control is always at fault. Be in control of your car at all times. Likewise, a driver who causes an accident while trying to take an unsafe advantage of a situation can also be assigned fault. If you slow for any reason, or upon entering the pit lane, put your hand up, get off the line. And if you do spin, both feet in, that is both the brake and the clutch, to slow the car and to prevent the engine from stalling. Stay on the brake until you come to a complete stop. We've had several recent incidents with serious medical consequences where the driver did not do this and after spinning off the track, released the brake and shot back across the track into oncoming traffic. A driver who does this, with or without contact, is done for the weekend and may risk other penalties such as license suspension. Be in control of your car at all times. Okay, flags. You are expected to know the meaning of the flags at this point in your racing career. What I want to point out now are the differences between VRG flag rules and the rules of other clubs you may have participated with in the past. For a yellow flag, either waving or stationary, no passing. Slow and allow a safe distance between you and the car in front of you. This is not your opportunity to make up time on the car in front of you. We have had multiple incidents where injuries occurred because a racer tried to make up time on the yellow and anticipate the clear zone after passing an incident, only to impact a car that was involved in an unknown second incident. The no passing zone extends from a line perpendicular to the track at the station holding the yellow to a beam the next staffed flag station not showing a flag, not to the incident as with SCCA. There may be more than one incident in a sector, and there may be stations that are not staffed. Red flag, no passing. Slow predictably, then come to a complete stop in view of the next staffed flag station, on track but off the normal racing line. Black flag all, no passing under black flag all. Once again, this is different from SCCA rules. Slow from racing speed, but expeditiously and safely continue around the track and exit the track at pit in. Make sure you learn the location of all flag stations during your practice sessions and which ones are staffed. The outlap of a session or a race is a great time to verify which stations are manned, as staffing changes may occur throughout the racing weekend. Wave to the flaggers. They love it. It will help reinforce the location of the flag stations and learn which ones are staffed and which ones aren't. It is one of your responsibilities as a race car driver to see the flags and respond appropriately. The excuse, "But I didn't see the flag," just doesn't cut it. The goal of racing with VRG is to enjoy racing with like-minded, safe racers. If we all play by the same rules, it's safer and more fun because we respect each other and know what to expect from our fellow competitors. VRG will enforce its rules. Our drivers race with us because we do. Having the right attitude is the most important thing you can bring to vintage racing. A word now about driver discipline. All on-track incidents will be investigated by the driver committee, which is made up of 3 or more of your fellow racers. Like all officials in VRG, they're volunteers. They're drivers who would rather be working on their cars or racing than dealing with some driver who lost control of their car. The DC will evaluate damage and will refer cars to tech as appropriate. They will interview all drivers involved, as well as other drivers who may have witnessed the incident on track. They will review incident reports from the flaggers and review in-car video if available. And then, after a thorough analysis and with consensus, arrive at an assessment of fault in each case. Based on this assessment, they will determine sanctions where appropriate, and those sanctions are reported to the Vintage Motorsport Council. Mentioning in-car video. In-car video is now required by SCCA and most major racing organizations and is highly encouraged at VRG. Sometimes in-car video is the only way to exonerate you from an accusation. If you're written up by a track worker, you are assumed guilty unless video evidence can be provided. Sorry, track workers are human too and can make mistakes, which is why we need camera systems and why they are so highly encouraged. A word about the Vintage Motorsport Council, commonly referred to as the VMC. The VMC is a coordinating body for all vintage motor racing organizations in the United States. Vintage clubs, now including the SCCA, report incidents resulting in sanctions, that is, probations or suspensions, to the VMC where infractions are recorded and then disseminated to all VMC member clubs as well as to the SCCA. This prevents a driver whose license has been suspended by one club from attending events with another club, regardless of how many licenses that driver might have. You can learn more about the other activities of the VMC at the URL on this slide. Let's return now to loss of control. And this is another area where VRG rules differ from other organizations. If you make contact with anything during any session, you must self-report to the black flag steward in pit lane and then follow on to the DC impound area. Failure to do so may result in loss of your next session or worse. If you spin more than 90 degrees or put 4 wheels off the racing surface during a practice or a qualifying session, you have lost control of your car and must self-report to the black flag steward in pit lane. Failure to do so may result in loss of your next session. If you spin or go 4 wheels off during a race, you may continue, but only after a safe re-entry to the racing surface. A simple memory trick for those of us that weren't math majors: if your back wheels were in front of your front wheels, you had lost control. After coming into the black flag station, your car will be checked over in pit lane, and in most cases, you'll be sent right back onto the track if everything is okay, obviously, unless you had made contact with something. If you have to be black flagged because you did not self-report, you may be sent to the paddock and or forfeit your next session or worse. Aggressive driving. Aggressive driving will not be tolerated. A driver that makes an aggressive move that results in damage can be excluded from the remainder of the event and put on a 6 to 13 month probation. If already on probation for an aggressive incident, or if this represents a second offense, the driver will be put on a 13-month suspension of their license. This decision will be reported to the VMC. Self-reporting of any on-track contact incident is each driver's responsibility. Any driver involved in any contact, another car, tire wall, Armco, a deer, must self-report to the black flag steward in pit lane and then to the driver committee impound area before returning to their paddock spot. Failure to do so may result in a higher penalty. Don't make the driver committee have to come search you out. Driver attitude will also be a factor in determining sanctions. Members of the DC are racers just like you, and they very much appreciate your cooperation in the incident review process. Rude, abusive, or combative behavior to the DC will not be tolerated and will likely result in probation, suspension, or even expulsion. Remember, as we discussed above, it is the race driver's responsibility to see and respond appropriately to all flags. This includes yellow flags, black flags, white flags, red flags, and the checkered flag. Drivers who miss flags risk the safety of other racers and possible loss of their next session or worse. In conclusion, embrace the vintage spirit. Learn and drive by the VRG rules. Respect your fellow racers, and they will respect you. Respect the vintage automobiles. Some are priceless and one of a kind. But all drivers have a lot of time and money invested in their cars. Prepare your car well before you go on the track. Be safe. A successful race weekend means putting your car back onto the trailer in the same condition as it came off and enjoying the camaraderie of your fellow racers in the paddock at the end of the day. If you spin, both feet in. Be safe, have fun, and thank you for racing with VRG. Safety fast!